Hey there, Scorpio. It's Keegan. Welcome to your December 8th through the 14th, 2019 general love reading. Gonna give these decks a couple of shuffles here on camera. For those of you who like to see the cards being shuffled, this is for you. Keep in mind, this is a general love reading, so a couple of things on that. Energies can be reversed. Don't get hung up on gender. Don't try to force things to fit. Take what resonates with you. Leave the rest behind. If this reading doesn't resonate with you, I will try my best to connect to your energy next week. Or you might want to check out the first week's reading to see if that's more in line with what's going on with you. This reading is designed for Scorpio Sun, Moon, Venus, and Rising signs. You can also check out your Moon, Venus, and Rising sign readings to see if the energy in those resonates a little bit more with you if this one doesn't seem to fit. I did sit down earlier to do a reading for you, and it was just plagued with interruptions. There was so much traffic noise outside, a loud truck went by, so it knocked me totally out of the energy of the reading. So I'm just starting fresh. We're going to see what happens. I'm going to move these decks off to the side. I just want to go through and actually pick a card for you guys here from this Oracle deck. See what I'm drawn to here for Scorpio the second week of December. That feels good. I actually want to get one more. Okay. Scorpio, let's take a look at these and see what we have. First card out, we have through prayer and meditation, I create a ripple effect of peace in the world. And then I do whatever it takes to get closer to consciousness. So, it's interesting. This is not a vibe that is totally different from the first reading that I did. It feels very much like, for those of you that this reading is going to actually be for, you're really working on something internally. There's a conflict that is going on within you between realizing that the situation that you find yourself in right now is one that you created. You created the situation that you find yourself in. And I'm not saying like you made your bed and a lie in it. I'm saying this is actually something that you did do a lot of work and effort to manifest. And I feel like it's a situation that isn't necessarily easy. It's almost like what I feel is you've put yourself into a situation that has its own unique challenges. You've put yourself into a situation that comes with its own obstacles. But in doing so and putting yourself into that situation, you know in the long term it's going to be something that pays out. It's going to be something that benefits you. You're also really trying to center yourself, really trying to put yourself deep into your own intuition to navigate whatever the situation is. And we'll take a look with cards to see a little bit more information about that. But there is one thing that I want to mention from the reading that I did earlier. Just because I feel like I'm supposed to mention it. And I felt very much like I should say it in the first reading. For some of you, you might be dealing with an unplanned, unexpected pregnancy. And the energy from that reading, it felt very specific. And then, like I said, the whole reading just got interrupted with loud noise. And I was sort of knocked out of the energy of it. But I want to mention it here because in that first reading, the Empress card came out. The Emperor card was down. It was reversed. And it just felt very much like someone finding out that they were pregnant, in a way being excited about it, but not sharing the news, not really being open about it. And the reason for that was because the Emperor, which was reversed, that relationship just was not going well. It was a relationship that felt very toxic to me. And there was a lot of confusion and a lot of anxiety on the part of the Empress in terms of trying to decide what to do. I just wanted to mention that for those of you who might hear this who are in that situation. We'll see what comes out in this reading, but I just want to acknowledge that energetically before diving into this. I'm going to free shuffle and just see what wants to come out. Just see what's going on for Scorpio, December 8th through the 14th, 2019. Go through one more time. Give me additional insight for Scorpio. Whoa. I don't know how many cards that was, but it sounded like a lot. Okay. Put these two together. They came out together. This is a whole lot of cards. This might just be your whole reading, to be honest with you. And these were the first ones that came out. Okay. You have the Eight of Wands here. It's come out upright. I feel like this represents really, really, really fast, really sudden. You have the Tower reversed, also coming out with the Ten of Swords. Okay. This is very similar to that first reading. All right, Scorpio. Some of you are trying your best to prevent something from happening. You're fearful of a change, and so you're really trying to fight it. It feels very much like you're in a place where you're trying to avert disaster. Like I was saying in the beginning of the reading, I feel like a lot of you have put yourself into a situation, and it's almost like now that you're in it, you're really trying to resist actually letting that change happen. You're almost putting up a resistance to the very thing that you wanted to manifest. I feel like for a lot of you, this could be a situation around a relationship. This Ten of Swords coming out reversed here. This is actually a decent card. There is energy here about resisting an ending that needs to happen. But behind that energy, ultimately, there is a place of recovering from that ending. Not necessarily being in it for very long. With the Tower and this Eight of Wands here, I feel like if this relationship hasn't come to an end, then it's going to be coming to an end very quickly. This is something that would be like very swift, very fast-paced change here in terms of these cards, specific around the pain of a relationship, something that feels like a betrayal. But again, I feel like you move through it fairly quickly. So based on what I'm getting so far, it almost feels like some of you are in a situation where you wanted to put an end to a relationship. You made decisions, you took things, you put a plan into place even to end a relationship. And it was something that happened very quickly. It's that typical type of Scorpio energy where you look at a situation and you decide, you know what, I'm done with this, and you just burn it to the ground. But it feels like after that's done, you're left in the situation of almost not necessarily having regret. It's not that you regret what you did, but you regret that you had to do it. You regret that there wasn't another way. Okay, let's take a look at these two cards. They come out together. We have the Page of Pentacles and the Knight of Pentacles here. The page is reversed. One of the things about the Page of Pentacles when it's reversed is this is really about having something that has not gone the way that we wanted it to, something that has not played out the way that we had hoped, some sort of failure, but being in a place of a learning from that. This Knight of Pentacles is really interesting energy to me because this is a knight that really puts in the effort, puts in a lot of work. Scorpio, it feels like you were in a place in which you were putting in so much effort into whatever this was. Again, I'm saying like this is something that you really put a ton of effort into creating. And it feels like a big, huge, abrupt change in your life. I do sense that it's around a relationship, but for some of you, this could just be some other type of huge change. This could be making a decision to move to a new place. This could be a decision to quit a job, but it was something that was very challenging for you, but you put in a ton of work and you put in a lot of effort in order to make this happen. Ultimately, this did not go exactly how you had planned or how you had hoped, but it's a situation in which you're learning from this. There's something in this specific situation, okay, that is designed to teach you, to help you to evolve. We're going to come back to these, I think. I just want to take a look at the other cards before I start clarifying too much. So these two cards actually showed themselves. I've talked a little bit about this energy already, but you have the Hermit here. It's coming out reversed. I'm not crazy about this. I have to be honest with you. So, this card represents a situation in which someone's very isolated. They've pulled their energy away to the point that they're not really interacting with many people at all. This card feels very lonely to me. It's come out with this Knight of Swords, which is reversed. one of the things I'm getting energetically from this card is just, it's like not being able to focus, not being able to, it's almost like there was so much change and it happened so quickly that you don't really know what to do next. You can't map out a plan. Um, there's a certain level of exhaustion that's with this card, but it's an interesting energy because it's like you don't want to be in this. You don't want to be in the situation that you find yourself in, but I feel like you created the situation. You wanted to have this situation. But now that you're in it, you don't really know how to just sit in it. You've pulled your energy back and you're trying to work your way through this, but you don't want to actually be in this. And so there's this battle going on here between wanting to just be by yourself, but also feeling really restless and trapped in that space, and not being able to focus on what you need to focus on, or focus on dealing with this, or focus on healing from this. This energy is intense. I'm curious about these cards. These came out in a huge clump. You have the High Priestess. I like her showing up here. It's interesting that she is upright. This is definitely the sign for you, Scorpio, around your intuition. You have the Five of Cups reversed. Again, I don't hate that. Ten of Cups reversed. Nine of Wands and the Queen of Swords. Okay. So Scorpio, I'm just going to walk through this. I'm just going to start at the left and work my way across. This gives me a little bit more insight. As I was talking here around this, I said that I felt very much like this was around a relationship. High Priestess represents just absolute intuition. It is also the card that represents the Divine Feminine, for those of you who that resonates with on some level. You have two cards here. You have the Five of Cups, which is reversed, which is a sign of moving on. Coming out next to the Ten of Cups, which is reversed, and this represents a struggling relationship or disconnecting out of a relationship. So I feel like what this is saying so far is that you were in a relationship, your intuition was working, telling you that this was not for you, that you needed to move on, you needed to close this out. I feel like you actually created a situation. You figured out what you needed to do in order to make this end. Because it feels almost like this relationship was... It would end and start up again. It would end and it would start up again. You would find yourself where you would think it was done. You would think, okay, well, there's no way to come back from this. There's no way that this is going to lead to, like, anything other than an ultimate ending, but it would actually start up again. And I feel like that might be what this energy is. This feeling of, I don't want to be in this, but I don't want to be out of it. But when I'm in it, I don't want to be in it. When I'm out of it, I want to be back into it. It's this very confused, trapped sort of energy that I was feeling up here. Let's talk about this. I just have to say here, the energy is so mixed up. It's so confused, not really knowing what it wants. I think ultimately we're going to get to a place where we might have some honesty and truth happening here, but we're going to need to clarify some of this stuff. Okay. So these three cards, I definitely feel them, this is a story here. These two cards, this gives me some hope at the end of this grouping of cards, and then we're going to go through and clarify a little bit. Nine of Wands represents a situation where you're really feeling like the situation that you find yourself in feels like it's almost like a test of your faith. You're really having to lean into your courage, figure out how to continue fighting through this. The other thing I'm getting from this card very strongly is around boundaries. I'm saying that because this Queen of Swords has come out here. The Queen of Swords is another card that really represents boundaries, very direct communication, someone who's very independent. Lots of energy here around someone that has definitely pulled themselves away, made the decision to end something, to walk away from something. You have movement ending, isolation ending, walking away. Okay, so there's so much energy here around that type of vibe. Sorry if you can hear my neighbors, they're very loud. I'm going to switch decks here. I'm just trying to decide what I even want to explore a little bit more deeply. It's very interesting, Scorpio, because I feel like this was something you did. This was something that you chose to do. And if I'm looking at this situation based on what I can see so far, if I had to explain this to someone, I would say someone found themselves in a relationship that was not necessarily healthy, a relationship that was fairly toxic. But no matter how much they tried to break out of this relationship, no matter how much they tried to find a way of ending it, they just couldn't do it. They could not manage to not go back or have the other person come back. It was this very back and forth type of energy. I feel like, Scorpio, you came up with something that you knew would cause this thing to come to an end. You reacted very quickly. It was something that you did. It led to this ending. But you resist it. It's almost like, even after whatever this was, whatever you said, whatever you did, I definitely feel that, Scorpio, like burn it to the ground. It feels very much like once that was done, you on one hand had the realization, yes, this means this is over. I don't think there really is any way to come back from this, but also realizing fairly quickly that you weren't happy with the fact that it was likely done. Your intuition was telling you you needed to move on from this, that this relationship needed to come to an end. I still feel like your intuition still tells you that. Your intuition still tells you that this thing being over is for the best. But there's also this nagging feeling, which also feels oddly like it is your intuition telling you that it's not really over, that it's not really done. Okay? I'm going to take a look at these in a minute. I don't want to start there, though. Let's just take a look at the High Priestess. Let's take a look at your intuition. Queen of Swords popped out right away. Clarify the High Priestess. I feel like that's saying your intuition is telling you the truth. You have the Moon coming out here reversed. This is good. This represents being in a place. The Moon, when it's upright, represents the unknown and all the anxiety and fear and worry that comes with that. When the Moon's reversed, it's really about releasing those fears, dealing with emotions that we've kept at bay, addressing any inner confusion that we have. It's very interesting, though, because I do feel like you're using your intuition. I feel like you do have clarity. I feel like you found the truth. You got a lot of... there's so much independent energy here, so I feel like you have broken away. But there's something here in this reading that just keeps feeling like you're being pulled back. I think it's this Tower card. This is what's confusing me, okay? Again, I feel like this happened very quickly. There's so much here for me that's saying you knew what you were doing. You had mental clarity. You were listening to your intuition. You were dealing with the fears. I don't understand why this Tower is not upright. This feels very much like, I could take an easy route out here and say this just represents personal transformation, right? Like you're going through a lot. I don't feel that, though, because I feel like even though your intuition telling you this needs to end. You're facing the fears of it. You're facing the emotions of it. You're processing those. So many cards here saying this relationship needed to come to an end. This was an ending. This is moving on. Okay. You have mental clarity. You have truth. Okay. You're really trying to figure out how to navigate this, how to keep going through this, how to find the courage to move on. why is this Tower reversed? Why not just let it come to an end? So let's take a look at the Tower, see what wants to come out. Why is this Tower reversed for Scorpio? So it really doesn't make sense to me. Why are you... So many cards. Oh my god. You don't want this to be over. You have the Hermit, again, coming out reversed. This is going to be one of those readings where the cards just start repeating themselves. Four of Wands reversed and the Chariot. Okay. Let's just take a look at these as a collection here. I just wanted to point out, you know. Okay. I asked, why is this Tower reversed? Well, it's reversed because for some reason you don't want this to actually change. You're fighting it. You're it's very interesting, Scorpio. I'm just sort of sitting thinking about this and trying to feel my way through it. I don't sense, like I said, I think I've said this before, I don't sense regret. It's like you did what you did. This came to an end. There's not regret, but there's also not relief. Okay? It's left you in this place of just feeling really withdrawn, really isolated. There is movement, though. There is some sort of progress that's being made here. This Four of Wands here reversed. Okay. Here's what I have. You didn't want to necessarily do what you did. You didn't want to have this Tower moment be the only option that was presented to you. I feel like you actually, like I said, you tried just pulling your energy back. You tried just pulling out of this, but it just didn't work. It did not work. You decided to take this action. And there's so much determination behind whatever this decision was, whatever that thing that you did, whatever you said, it feels very planned out. It feels very mapped out. It feels very deliberate. And it worked. It really did blow this up. It's not necessarily what I'm getting energetically that you're actively fighting this Tower. I feel like the Tower happened. You just didn't want it to have to be that way. You didn't want that to be the thing that needed to happen. This Four of Wands represents there just being there's a lot of conflict with other people that I'm getting here, but the other thing that I get here is almost like an inner peace. Clarify the Four of Wands. Why is the Four of Wands reversed? Seven of Pentacles. Very interesting. Scorpio, is this a test? Are you testing someone? This feels very much like a Scorpio test to me. Oh, Scorpio, I hope this isn't what this is. So the Seven of Pentacles represents something that is sustainable. Looking at your investment in something and the long-term view of it. Oh, Scorpio. I think I know what this is. This is not healthy. This is not healthy. I need a new deck. You guys are making me go through all my cards. Okay. Scorpio, I think I figured out what is going on here. This is a test. You're doing the Scorpio thing where you test someone and you see if they're going to stick around when you show them all the chaos, when you show them the Scorpio like intensity. And I feel like you're not sure what they're going to do. You're not sure how they're going to react to this. with this card coming out, the Seven of Pentacles is actually what's clarified this for me, because it feels like I don't want to take this route. I don't want to do this, but I'm going to pull myself back. I'm going to pull my energy all the way away from this person. That's the action that I'm choosing to take. That's my plan. That's my course. That's what I'm going to do. This person has then come back and it's like they're pissed. They're fighting. They're showing that this is not what they want. But I feel like that's been going on. I feel like there's been this in and out, in and out, in and out. So this feels like you pulled the trigger on something really big. Okay, it feels like, okay, I'm going to do this thing. And if they come back after this, if we survive this, then I can trust that this has some long-term sustainable, something to it. I can trust it. I can rely on this. I can feel like this is something that's really going to work. Oh, Scorpio, I know this energy. I know this energy so well. I've never actually like read it in cards before, so this is interesting for me. But it makes sense now. You don't really want this to end, but you do this thing and it's designed so that you can try to see if your intuition and your mind, you're trying to get everything aligned. You're trying to see if this relationship is going to last or not. And you're confused. You don't really know. It seems really like this thing it was really damaged. You have 2 Tower cards coming out with the 10 of Cups and the 10 of Swords, the 5 of Cups. Like, whatever this was, you blew it up. I mean, you blew this to smithereens, Scorpio. Again, energies can be reversed. It could be the other person that did this to you. But I feel this is such a this is classic Scorpio. It just is. Okay, this reading might be a little bit longer, but I want to keep going. I don't want to leave you guys at this point. If you're still listening to me, thank you for being patient as I figured out what this is. What do I even want to clarify here? You know what? I'm going to move some cards just to the top so I can see them. Put these towers up here. I want to look at this 8 of Wands a little bit more closely. Definitely the 8 of Wands. 6 of Swords reversed coming out as a clarifier there. This represents unfinished business. It almost feels, Scorpio, like you were... You were tired of the in and out, tired of the back and forth, tired of things being unstable, tired of things sort of falling apart and then piecing them back together. And you just made the decision, I'm going to drop the bomb on this. If it survives this, then I'm going to keep putting effort into it. I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep working on this. But if it doesn't, then I'm free of it. It's either going to make it or it's not. And you thought at the moment you were fine either way. But now that you find yourself in this and you're trying to navigate all this craziness around this, it's just sort of left you in this energy of like I said, it's not that you regret what you did, but you didn't get the relief that you expected that you would from this. This is so heavy. I really feel like with this Queen of Swords, this 9 of Wands, Queen of Swords, it's just you trying to stick with this, trying to navigate the chaos that's after this, trying to just be in it and trusting in your intuition that this is going to lead you to some sort of truth around your connection with this person or this relationship. I really don't want to take a look at this tower. I don't want to clarify it because it feels very... It feels last resort. That's what I'm getting. It was your last resort. Okay, I'm going to try something a little bit different. I'm going to go back to my oracle deck. It's just interesting energy for me. I've been in this situation and I know what this feels like. I know exactly what this feels like when you're just in limbo in a way, wondering if you were right, and this is something that is not gonna work. You're not gonna be able to come back from this, and having this weird space where you don't yet know, you're not yet clear about whether or not this is done. So we have, my happiness is a direct reflection of my level of faith in the universe. In any moment, I can surrender to the powerful presence of love through prayer, contemplation, and stillness. So, Scorpio, let's focus on this. This feels a little bit more hopeful. So, Scorpio, this is one of those situations where I feel like you have to just hand this over. What's done is done. You can't undo it. This is either going to work out or it's not. It's interesting because I feel like there isn't anything that you can say or do right now to try to push this in any specific direction. It feels, for those of you that this resonated with, what I feel like is you're just right in the aftermath of it. Like, whatever this was, it happened very recently, and you're just sitting in it trying to, like, it feels almost like you're shell-shocked. Like, what just happened? What did I do? And you don't know what's going to happen next. It feels very unresolved. It feels like the explosion just happened and the pieces are just starting to fall to the ground, and you're looking around trying to see, like, what's left. You know, what's left. Is anything left? You're going to have to just, like I said, hand this over. And what's done is done. I just keep hearing what's done is done. It's almost like this thing happened, but it feels planned. But it doesn't feel like you sat down and you spent like a week planning some sort of like actual strategy. It just feels like over time it was like this thing happened and it didn't lead to the relationship ending. This thing led to the relationship getting back together, but it didn't quite feel like it was right. And then this other thing would derail it. And as you were going through this, as you were navigating this, it's like you just had this list of all these things, like things that we survived, things that broke us apart. And something happened where you just went, I know what I can do. And it's either going to end or somehow it's going to survive this. And if we survive this, then it was meant to be. And you just did it. And it feels very impulsive. It feels very quick. And I feel like you're just sitting in the aftermath of it now, looking at things and going, whoa. Like, it's almost like you didn't realize how much this was going to explode. I mean, even like this reading, I just feel like it looks like an explosion. Like, it feels so chaotic. Scorpios, I don't think I'm going to be able to get answers for you in terms of like what is ultimately going to come of this. I mean, we're looking at the 8th through the 14th. I think for a lot of you, if this hasn't happened yet, if okay, I can say this. If this has not happened yet, but you're contemplating this sort of thing, let this be a warning to you. This doesn't feel good energetically. This is not a healthy place to find yourself. It's like I said, there's no relief, but there's also not regret. You're just sort of sitting in it, looking around, and like, again, like shell-shocked. You don't even know what to do next, what to say. And I feel like this other person is sort of in the same place where they just look at it and think, how did that happen? How did we get here? So Scorpios, I'm going to let this reading stand as is because, again, I feel like it's either approaching or it just happened, and this is what you're going to be trying to clear out for the week, is dealing with this. This was intense. I mean, my readings for you guys, it's always intense, but this was really intense, especially when I realized what this was. This was one of those testing someone to see how much they're going to stick by, how much they're actually willing to put up with. And this is one of those situations where it's up in the air. It's really up in the air about whether or not they're going to walk away or whether they're going to somehow manage to navigate this and forgive it. Scorpio. All of the water signs had really intense readings too, and so I was hoping you guys would be different, but you decided to be the most intense, which is very Scorpio. So, Scorpios, if this resonated with you, I'm sorry. I really truly am, because I do know exactly what this feels like. I've done this many times in my life. If this resonated with you, please go into the comments and talk to each other. I think this is a good opportunity for Scorpios to talk about some of that self-destructive behavior that we can have, where we get freaked out about situations and we start to doubt and we start to worry, and then we get really paranoid about things, and then we just blow it all up to see if the person's willing to stick by us. This feels like kind of the ultimate level of that. This feels like one of those do or die type of tests where you really did burn everything down. This is just classic Scorpio, just, salting the earth and daring something to grow out of it, but really hoping something grows out of it. So Scorpios, I love you guys. I really do. I'm one of you. I'm part of the tribe. I get this. There's no judgment here for me. If you're a cross-watcher watching this, you have to make up your mind about this, about what your next move is. And I do feel like for the Scorpio, this felt like it was the last resort. This felt like the only way of getting certainty, of getting finality one way or the other. Okay, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to stop staring at these cards. If you are new here, welcome to your first Scorpio reading with me. They're always a little bit intense like this. So I will see you guys next week. I hope that it is less intense. I have a suspicion that it won't be. I think this will be lingering for a while, to be honest with you. So, Scorpios, take care of yourselves.